Alright, welcome gang to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 156 here. Time sure does fly. Altai, joined this week by...
Omer. And I was hoping for that sweet ASMR introduction.
No, can't do it every week. Gotta leave the gang waiting. Oh, Black Flash 400. Thank you for that Twitch Prime subscription.
Mucho love. What do we got going on this week, Altai? What do we got going on?
Well, the EU is at it again.
It's goddamn commies.
It's goddamn commies. They can't just leave the internet alone, can they?
What they ruined now? What are they screwing up?
All right, so I think a few weeks ago now we talked about the GDPR, which I was in favor of actually, and it basically forces companies to tell users what information is being stored on them, and it gives them an easy way to basically opt out and have that information deleted on them.
That's one perspective what the GDPR does, but the reality is what the GDPR ends up doing is it puts on burdensome costs for small gaming companies to comply with bureaucratic nonsense from the EU, which led to the International Ragnarok Online banning all EU players. It led to the shutdown of like 3 or 4 random games on Steam, and we're seeing more random games being shut down because of GDPR. The way you described it, the way you described that was so like peachy, like, oh, it makes everyone's data more protective and it gives more power to the consumers. No, the reality is, if you live in Europe, you can't play International Ragnarok Online anymore. All right, you just lost your character and you're fucked. That's the reality.
Look, I like the fact that the default now is privacy. Okay, and if that's too much bureaucracy for certain companies, then good riddance. I hope they go out of business. I mean, if their starting principle is to fuck the customer, screw over the customer, right? Then screw them. I don't care about them.
Oh my god!
Anyway,
hold on. Gravity Interactive's policy is not to fuck the customer.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. They just don't have any systems in place to delete that cookie data, random bullshit. Like, the whole GDPR thing was set up to combat companies like Facebook and Google, which have enormous amounts of data. Like, your gaming company doesn't have... They're not really going out of their way to collect who you're PMing in-game, all this other bullshit. That's not important. That's not their business. They're not that's for advertising companies. So gaming companies were kind of caught in the crosshair of the GDPR. It wasn't even targeting them. Anyway, that is not even our main topic of discussion. What are the Europeans ruining now? Let's hear it, Altai.
Let's get to the real deal here, okay? So this week, actually last month, they passed something called the new copyright directive. I like that, directive, very, very formal.
It's very Star Trek-esque, the directive.
And basically, this has a whole host of sweeping articles in it. The most well-known is probably Article 13. And what Article 13 is going to do is, you guys are all familiar with YouTube, right, out there? So on YouTube, now, if you upload, like, let's say, a music video, right, that you just downloaded, you basically can't even get away with that. It'll automatically say, this is copyrighted, it's owned by, like, UMC Music or whatever, you can't upload this. Well, a lot of other sites won't say that, like Dailymotion or all these other crap sites. Basically, they let you upload anything you want. And, maybe later they'll get like a DMCA request and remove it. But initially, you can upload anything you want. And that's because the operating principle on the internet today is something called safe harbor. Basically, if you're a platform like YouTube or Facebook or anything, or Twitch, let's say, you're not responsible directly for what your users put online. If they put on, like, let's say I start streaming porn right now. I mean, Twitch might ban me, but they're not going to, like, be fined or whatever, right? As long as they take down any copyright information that gets, that the holder asks to get removed, right? They're safe. Okay, they can't be preemptively punished. These companies. What Article 13 is going to do is basically force everybody, every company, Facebook, everyone, to basically have a content filter in place, so that you cannot post a picture on Facebook if it gets flagged. Let's say I have a picture of, like, I don't know, Beyonce or something, and I put that online, and she doesn't want me having that picture and sharing it, right? I just cannot post it on Facebook. So what do you think of that, Omar?
So it seems like what they're doing is basically, whereas before companies were not liable for copyrighted content being posted on their platform, now they're more preemptively liable. So now, from my understanding of Article 13, I was introduced to it just basically in the pregame, is that now basically every website is required to have some kind of system in place already to prevent any copyrighted content from appearing on their website.
Yep.
Whereas this burden was not there before. Before, if there was something on there, the copyright holder could complain to the website and do some kind of takedown notice, and they would take it down. Now, basically, every site is required to have some kind of content ID system, the way YouTube already has it. So every website is required to basically prevent this stuff from ever happening in the first place. Now, the problem with this is it sounds good, and obviously people want to, I mean, let's be real. Most gamers don't give a shit about copyrights, and we all pirate music and stuff too. We do all that shit, right? But we want to, generally most people are okay with, artists getting paid for their work and stuff. But it's going to impact, I think, the smaller companies more strongly. Like just any kind of small website where you can't afford to have those content ID systems in place. I know YouTube spends millions on their content ID system, but like any kind of off-the-shelf solution to prevent, copyrighted content going on your website is difficult. Like, what's this, like, especially like comment systems? Like, what's to stop somebody from copying and pasting an article on a comment or on Reddit, on Facebook, on anywhere? Like, that just
it's not going to stop them, but
there'll be fees.
No, but it'll flag it. Like, why not? I don't think it'd be too difficult. Here's the thing: I could see why in 1990 or whatever, when internet got started, why it was almost impossible for companies to preemptively scan everything that comes in, right? Like if you're like MySpace, you can't like control what 100 million people are uploading every second, right? But today, as YouTube has demonstrated, there are the software, the technology, it does exist to scan things automatically as they come in and flag them, right? Like this clearly exists, the technology for this.
It exists, but companies like YouTube own it, and YouTube has probably spent like tens of millions developing the technology for themselves.
Okay.
But how do you expect a smaller site, let's say like not Reddit, but there's that website called Vote, like voat.co. They're like they're the version of Reddit that allows like any kind of like free speech stuff, so you get a lot of weird shit on there. Like how do they police this, for example? Like how do smaller websites that are not YouTube, that aren't multi-billion-dollar companies, have these kinds of systems in place?
They build it themselves, or they work together and fund someone to build them. It's like this: every restaurant, okay, in America at least, has to have like a sink like behind the counter, right? And a restaurant and a bathroom, right? A male and female bathroom. You could make the same argument. Wow, if I want to open a small pizza place, I can't afford a bathroom. A bathroom costs a lot of money.
I don't think it's the same thing, because even the thing is, even with YouTube's content ID system, they spend like it's not just they spend $10 million and that's it. Like they spend millions every year to improve their content ID system, and they have people employees manually removing content as well. Like put that kind of burden on like a non-Fortune 500, non-billion-dollar company seems like really ridiculous. Like what was wrong with the previous system? Like
the problem is there's a lot of copyright fraud going on. See, at least YouTube is preemptively doing the right thing. There's a European video service called Dailymotion, and often when I search like a show to watch, right, like a Shark Tank or something, right, on Google, like Shark Tank, watch episode, whatever, 6. Dailymotion is sometimes one of the options. I can watch full episodes on there, right? That would not happen on YouTube, but it happens on Dailymotion. And Dailymotion, by the way, I believe is owned by a giant French company. It's not like a scrappy guy in his garage. Just there's like this myth that they're trying to fool you with.
Hold on, there are like tiny ass forums. That Dailymotion is obviously huge, but like this law is going to impact basically any small community, like anywhere, like whether it's a forum, whether it's like I don't know, just any like small website that has any kind of user contributions to it. It seems like such an unnecessary burden.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I don't know if I agree with this one yet. I'm not with GDPR. I was on board, right? With this one, like Omar said, we just kind of learned about this today. So we're gonna read more about it. But my view on this is, I don't think it's unreasonable as long as we have. But I'm against copyright in general. But as long as we have some copyright, and the legitimate legal owner of a piece of content is somebody, to have it all over the internet, and have these billion-dollar companies like Facebook profiting from it, when a clear way to filter exists, as YouTube has demonstrated, like for years now, it clearly doesn't add up. It can clearly be controlled, and it's clearly costing money to the content owners. Right?
I don't know. Yes, but there's already systems in place to take down the copyrighted content, like take down claims of
those don't work though. People just keep re-uploading it. It's a joke.
But how is this going to work then? I don't see how this is going to fix it either then.
Well, here's how it's going to work. I go to Dailymotion to upload my latest Shark Tank, and it says, not your content, bitch. Doesn't let me upload it. That's how.
Look, I think it's pretty, when somebody's uploading full TV shows to sites like Dailymotion or like YouTube knockoff websites, like obviously there's definitely a problem there. Because I think we've all used like those ghetto-ass websites to like watch TV shows online, like streams of them, where you can easily just search. If you search Google right now for watch, name of show, like season and episode number, you'll find like a dozen websites with that exact episode and TV show. You can watch it like pretty easily online. Like obviously at that level of flagrant copyright infringement, I could see that as a problem that they want to regulate away. But beyond that, I think there's gonna be a lot of collateral damage. Just like GDPR had a lot of collateral damage as well. We talked a lot about GDPR before, but like the reality is it really impacted small gaming companies. And any kind of regulation like this is really going to impact small guys that they can't afford to have these kind of content ID systems in place. And then all the power goes more towards the giant, giant websites. And I don't think it's good for the internet. Maybe if these like regulations applied for like once you have like $10 million in revenue or $100 million in revenue, you know what? That's a good starting point, I think, because if you make $100 million a year in revenue, you're a big enough website that can afford some kind of some content ID system, and that's when the law should apply. It just seems you can't have this blanket application for this on literally anyone on the internet. Internet. I still think the internet, the beauty of the internet, has always been the fact that it's all these small, like, obviously big websites like Facebook, Google, Twitch, and whatnot are huge, but there are still so many independent websites and independent communities, and that exist outside of these giant corporations. I think the internet is beautiful for that reason, and I don't want to take that away.
What a romantic! That's already dying, even without this rule. By the way, every day I think the number of like those communities is just dying, being replaced by whether it's a Reddit subreddit or a Discord server or a Facebook group. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of all those little forums and independent sites are all dying anyway. But anyway, back to this. I do think I should be stated it. This passed the European Legislative Committee. Okay, now that doesn't mean it's law yet. Now it has to go in front of the entire European Parliament. Okay, so it got through all the committees now. The final vote by the full Parliament is going to happen sometime this year. So it has not happened yet, and I am sure some of the concerns you guys have stated, Omar, you've stated, will be addressed. For example, when they passed the GDPR, they gave over a year grace period. You know what I'm saying? So they gave companies over a year, saying, "Look, this is on this date. We're going to start enforcing this. This is what we're going to enforce. So get your systems in place." I am certain they will do the same thing here, where they're not going to just be like, "Okay, tomorrow you got to filter everything. If you can't, you're fucked." So all those small companies will have time to find like a third party a vendor for this kind of filtering.
Here's another weird problem, Tom. Looking at Article 11 again. This is maybe we're swaying a little bit away from gaming too, but Article 11.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Article 13. There's another one that passed, which is Article 11, part of the same directive. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Article 11 says they got this thing called a link tax. So when you link to a news organization or like quote their text, you have to pay money. So like that's just really bizarre. Because obviously they're targeting Google, where like Google has Google News, where they'll show a link.
Apple News.
Apple News too. They have a headline of a news article and like some small text, and if you click in, you can click into it to go to the website. But just having that link there, the company will have to, like Google or Apple have to pay for that, which I guess might make some sense because I'm sure Google News and Apple News makes a lot of money. But like when, like for example, if MMOs.com links to an article, like a news article, like do we have to pay for that? That just seems really bizarre. Like I can't link to a website without paying. Like do they not want the traffic? Like why can't I just link to them?
That's a good point. And I think again, I think they're basically targeting large companies that are just profiting off all the work being done by these news sources, right? Like if you go to Apple News, you can read the full article, right? And there's no ads there, so it's not like whatever company article you're reading is making any money off you.
And this is almost like GDPR as well. Again, I think the biggest problem with GDPR was a lot of the companies didn't know how to comply with it, and that's why I think one of the reasons Gravity gave for basically shutting off access to Ragnarok Online in Europe. Like they didn't know how to comply with it because it wasn't explicitly spelled out, right? And this is very vague as well. So apparently Article 11 doesn't even define what constitutes a link. If that word isn't even defined, you're opening yourself to liability because like it's not clearly explained.
It's not defined because it's not the full bill. This is just past the committee that will now hand it to the full Parliament, and they will decide all the definitions and stuff. This is like a principle, basically. So I think a lot of the scaremongering right now is just that, scaremongering, because what people are reading now is not the final bill. It doesn't take into effect. It doesn't take into account all the little caveats and exemptions they will inevitably put in to not to hurt little mom and dad sites or whatever.
So do you think this will impact gaming at all? Because I know I mentioned the pregame, like a lot of games like Maplestory and Final Fantasy 14, for example, have like you can put copyrighted music in those games. Like people can play music in Final Fantasy 14, for example. Like using if you're playing a bard, you can bust out like a harp or a flute, and you can play music in the game. And people play very popular anime songs and openings. People play music from Mario. I mean, Final Fantasy 14 specifically says like don't do that, right? Like, will this give like a means for copyright holders to try like monetizing that?
Okay, I'm not sure.
In theory, probably, but in practice, there's still no way to actually.
It depends how it does it. Like, do you upload like a file?
No, you just play it in game. You press buttons in game.
No, they can't. There's no way to filter that. But if you upload like an image or a audio file, then I would suspect in sometime in the near future that could be automatically detected.
Yeah, I don't know. More regulations on stuff like this is kind of scary. I just feel like we have pretty good tools in place for anti-copyright. So I just feel like this is going to open disproportionately impact small companies.
Listen. As someone who pirates entire episode series, okay, entire TV shows, entire seasons, entire series, don't sit there and lie to me and tell me that we already have good copyright protections in place. That is a lie. That is not true.
That is true. In the West, we do have those systems in place. The problem is, hold on. The problem is that when you watch pirate TV shows, you're downloading them from like Russia or somewhere in Africa, where these rules don't apply. These EU laws don't apply to American web hosts, don't apply to Russian companies, they don't apply to Asian companies. When you're downloading this content or watching illegal streams online of random TV shows, they're almost always done from out of Europe, out of Western world, because they know this. Yeah.
If I'm doing BitTorrent, I mean, I'm also uploading as I'm downloading, and it's from I set mine to 10 kbs to be a good bro, not 0. You know, so I'm uploading TV shows from America.
Yeah, and you're breaking copyright law. And today you're breaking the law. They come after you today. This is not going to change.
But they're not going to come after me.
And why would if you're breaking the law and they're coming after you, and they make a new law? Why would they come after you then? The point is, the minor offenders like you are not going to get targeted anyway. The people that will get targeted with these kind of
you stated we already had copyright protections in place, and I'm telling you they don't work. So we clearly don't have good systems in place.
Well, they do. They're just not enforced. To come after small time infringers doesn't make any sense.
Whatever it is, it's not enforced. So it doesn't. We do not have good systems in place because they don't work.
Most of these piracy websites are out of Europe anyway. They're out of America, and this law is not going to change that. All right, it's only going to screw over small companies in Europe, just like the GDPR did. And at the end of the day, it's just going to hurt the small fish.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a very simplistic take, but we can read more about it and talk more about it. Later.
Yeah, we'll learn more about that because I just learned about this Article 13 now. I do look forward to reading more about it. But damn, those pesky Europeans really trying to ruin the internet.
I should link this too. One of our good viewers, has linked us this. This is like one of those internet petitions. Yeah. So if you want to be an e-activist and try to save the internet, you can.
This kind of activist, it feels good to be an armchair activist. It's like you watch a video on like some children suffering in Africa. You watch a documentary and you go, I did my part. I watched that documentary and I felt for them. All right, time to go play some Overwatch. Time to play some League. Time to play some World of Warcraft. Like, it's a nice armchair activism going on. Real talk. 100% honesty from everyone in chat right now. During the whole, net neutrality debate, and the entire internet went wild over that shit. Did anyone actually call their congressman?
I didn't.
I sure as fuck didn't. I know Alta, you didn't. Anyone in our chat, did any of you call your congressman to say vote against, vote to protect net neutrality? Did anyone actually do that? Because it was all over Reddit. It was all over basically every website on the internet. I'm curious if anyone in the chat did their part. Even like this level of activism, actually calling your congressman. I didn't do it. I was too lazy. I'm curious if our fellow Ethel wrote a physical letter. I can respect that. We got a few. I did. Oh yeah, we got a few activists in here.
We got a few adults in the room.
Nope. Shame on you. Yeah, it is shame on us. Obviously, I do it. It's remarkable because like all you have to do is pick up you just print one letter out and send it to it. It literally costs you 35 cents. Or just calling them is only a minute of your time. But despite that, most people still didn't do it. EFF member. I can respect that. I can respect the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They do a lot of good on the internet. Almost every time there's some weird lawsuit over stuff on the internet, it's usually EFF protecting the little guy. So much respect for that. That's an organization that I want to eventually get around to protecting and supporting.
I like Birdman's comment. I killed my congressman.
Hashtag got him. Congresswoman is evil Republican, so she got paid by the lobbyists to vote with Pi. Rip.
Ajit Pai.
That guy is like one of the most hated people in the world now. But despite all the fear mongering, nothing has happened yet, and hopefully it stays that way. We'll see what happens because it just recently those rules disappeared. We'll see if anything happens with net neutrality and if it affects our gaming at all. If I have to pay money to be able to play games at faster speeds, better ping, I'm gonna be pissed off. I don't think that's gonna happen.
You're gonna be Fortnite on your phone in the future. That's it. That's your only choice. All right. Before we move on, though, I do want to watch this 2-minute video that this site has. Let's see what it is. Here we go, boys. Let's hear it.
Take a look.
A lot of platforms are totally not affected. Ich zähle Facebook und Twitter und YouTube dazu, kann das aber rein rechtlich im Grunde so nicht hundertprozentig sagen, weil das nachher eine Rechtsauslegung des Europäischen Gerichtshofs sein wird.
I feel that the criticism hasn't been really balanced and not based on the actual text we've proposed. That's why all these claims of censorship, upload filters, and link hacks are all a total exaggeration.
Content ID is not so expensive as people they are talking. Audible Magic, for example, to identify 10,000 songs, they have to pay 400, 500 bucks. Not so expensive at all.
Hashtag copyright directive. Creation of a neighboring right and automated filtering of content put online. A great step forward.
I love the music in the background. It's so dramatic.
I love it.
Quand vous concluez des licences, c'est pareil que quand vous concluez un accord avec Radio France. Il vous faut des outils techniques. Vous êtes excellent, je vous prends votre exemple, Radio France. Vous nous déclarez à la minute les œuvres que vous diffusez. N'importe quel jingle est identifié. C'est ça qu'on demande à une plateforme comme YouTube.
Alright, there you go. Hashtag save your internet. Hashtag delete Article 13.
All right, I do want to just say the one thing is that every time something comes up that threatens the internet, you know, whether it's this directive, whether it's GDPR, whether it's the net neutrality, I do think the internet, people, especially like nerds like us, people that play video games all day, I feel we kind of fit into that group. People spend all the time on the PC. We get a little overly cautious, and we typically blow things out of proportion, especially with net neutrality, for example. I mean, obviously nobody is voting to destroy the internet. I mean, the way SaveYourInternet.eu explains this is that the members of Parliament in Europe are voting to destroy the internet. Like, really? Is that what they're voting on? I mean, I'm sure there's a rationale why they're doing it, and I mean, it still seems like a bad idea to me. But I just want to exaggerate, is like to destroy the internet. It's not good. I don't want to see it, but I don't think you can frame the other guy's argument as they want to destroy the internet or some really nefarious thing, you know. But hopefully, we'll learn more about it and talk more about it when we learn
I gotta
more.
say though, they were kind of deceptive in this video about one part at the beginning when they're talking to that guy. He's like, I think Facebook and Twitter and YouTube will be covered, but I'm not sure. And then they're trying to frame him, right? But he's just saying he wasn't. He's like, that's up to the European justice, whatever, to determine. It's not his role. He doesn't know because it's not his job to know that. So why? Like, they're asking him a question, he's answering like, this is not my job. It's this department that's gonna handle that. And they're like, see, he's like lying to you. It's like, what? That was kind of funny.
All right. Let's move along to something a little more exciting. All right, a little more exciting on the MapleStory 2 front. All right, I find this pretty exciting. We know now when MapleStory 2 is beginning closed beta 2. It's starting on July 18th. It'll be running through August 1st, and it's actually the MMORPG I am most looking forward to this year, and I've probably been most looking forward to for a while. Honestly, probably like for the last few years, this is the game I've been looking forward to quite a bit. And I'm probably not gonna play the closed beta 2 that much, only because there will be a wipe. But I'm hoping open beta rolls around pretty soon. On this round of beta testing, they're gonna be doing their battle royale game mode called Mush King Royale. But that's only on July 20th to July 22nd, so only for those that one weekend. But I'm looking forward to playing this, and I really hope MapleStory 2 lives up to like what I saw in the closed beta 1. If there's a lot more mini games and stuff to do, I think MapleStory 2 could be a lot of fun, because the one thing I feel like MMORPGs are really missing, and they've been missing for a long time, is a sense of like, it might be a little hard to put into words. Maybe you can help me out and see if you agree with me. But when I play an MMORPG, I want more than just raiding. I want more than just like these core systems. I want to log into a game and be in that world for 5 hours, 3 hours, however long I'm playing. Right? I want to be in that world. I want a reason to stay in that world. I want things to do, like a lot of things to do. And I feel like too many MMORPGs, what you can do in Bless Online, right, is you just grind to max level and do PvP. What you do, like, your paths are so predefined. Games like WoW and Final Fantasy 14 have a few more things to do, a few more bells and whistles. But ultimately, I want to get lost in an MMORPG, and it's something I haven't done in a long time. To a degree, I've had the experience in Final Fantasy 14 because I play with friends and we can find things to do. And I'm kind of seeing that hope to a degree in MapleStory 2 because of all the mini games. Because a lot of the mini games in MapleStory 2 are very much Mario Party-esque. So it's a game you can kind of play to level up. And then when a couple of friends are online, maybe you all play some of the random mini games together. You just do other things together in the game. And it just, I want to play an MMORPG for more than just the core combat. Is what, you know, and I feel like games have kind of forgotten, MMORPGs have kind of forgotten about that. It's really only World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV that has that to a degree, where you have different facets of the game beyond just grinding and raiding. The pet collecting, the mount collecting, the cosmetics, the emotes, the characters, and it's something. Because if I want to play a game, the real talk, if I want to play a game, like I want to play a game to play the game, if this makes any sense. I'm going to play Overwatch. I'm going to play League of Legends. I'm going to play Battle Right. Maybe even like Fortnite. Like if I want to play a game, those are the games I play. When I play Final Fantasy 14, outside of the windows where I'm literally just like hardcore tryhard raiding, and that's the minority of my time spent in these games, I'm there for the experience of the living world. I'm there to see other people, to make connections, to play this game, and maybe like having the background while I do other things as well in that game. That's what an MMORPG should be for me, and I feel like we've really lost that. Thoughts?
Well, the problem with that is there's a couple problems. One, as Derpy in chat said, the problem is so many of the social features now have moved outside of the client, right, with Discord. So I think what you said is true. An MMORPG has to be more than the sum of its parts. And I think the best way to do that would be to a few games are trying this. They're trying to integrate Discord into their game. So somehow, first of all, a game should launch as a windowed or borderless window. Full screen should not even be an option. Okay, like the graphics settings should be pretty low, right? So that it kind of is seamless with the rest of your desktop. So you can have the chat open, you can have the browser open. Because if you have to launch it and then you step away from everything else, like your social circle, like your Discord or whatever you use, it's not going to work.
Drop both them. So you want a game that does what every other game does? Pretty steep requirement. That's not what I'm trying to say, because one example is I think what Final Fantasy 14 does pretty well is that, like, for example, if I'm on Discord with my buddies, right, and we want to do something, right, maybe play a game, right. Sometimes you don't all want to focus on a game, so like you can play an MMORPG together. But if you're just leveling an MMORPG, it's too stressful. Maybe it's like too much focus, right? But you want to just do something with your friends that's pretty low stress. I go into Final Fantasy 14 and run a roulette or a dungeon with some friends because it's very casual, and the fact that dungeons are really easy kind of works well for the casual dungeon run, and you can do it to get level up your alt characters and stuff while you're talking about some other shit. Like it's actually surprisingly fun to do that in the background, and it's not something. And as stupid as that sounds, right? You really can't play Overwatch in the background of a conversation. You can't, or if you do, you just literally not. You really can't do either thing pretty well. Because you're focusing on the game, you're not focusing on the conversation. It just feels weird to do it with your friends there. But Overwatch is fun, don't get me wrong, and hardcore raiding games is fun too. But you really can't do both at the same time. Having a casual experience of doing that while you can just do these side things in MMORPGs while doing other shit with your friends. I think that actually ends up working really well for MMORPGs because that's something you really can't do in any other kind of game. What other game can you play while also on Discord with your buddies, for example? I mean, that's only one facet of MMORPGs that I like. I mean, you do need the hardcore rating as well, which is great, and the customization and everything else. But that's, I think, a strength of MMORPGs that you don't see anywhere else.
I think somehow MMORPGs have to hire better or more modern UX designers. For example, in Final Fantasy 14, right, the launcher and account creation, right, the Square Enix account and stuff, automatically disqualifies it from ever being a mainstream good game in my eyes.
Wait, Final Fantasy 14 is disqualified being a mainstream? Why?
Because the client is so wonky, the account creation is so wonky.
Account creation is wonky.
If you want to create a trial, you need a totally different launcher.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty bizarre.
Like the mental disease in the mind of the creators here are just it's so awful. I couldn't imagine getting a friend of mine who's not already if you're already steeped in gaming and you watch 8 hours of anime a day, sure, whatever, you'll figure it out. But if you're just a normal guy, you play Call of Duty on Xbox, and then you're like, hey, come try this game with me. And then you give them it's just a mess.
Final Fantasy 14 World of Warcraft, they won't figure it out. I agree.
It's a mess.
So the design there is definitely not good.
So the problem actually is not the game. It's not the gameplay. It's not the graphic. It's all this other shit. It's the UI. It's the process of opening the game.
But even if that was more accessible, right? I think that MMORPG genre would be more popular, right?
Accessibility.
You can open all that stuff up.
Accessibility is first. It's number one. If you can't get that right, just write them off. They're not I'm interested in that.
No, but here's the thing: even if Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft or MMORPGs as a genre are more accessible, I don't think it would solve the problem. Or like these games, these still need like more things to do. Again, the allure for Final Fantasy 14 and MMORPGs for me for the longest time has been always like the entire package. Raiding is a fun part of it. Dressing up your character is a fun part of it. Hanging out with people is a fun part of it. But it's really the whole package again that really separates MMORPGs from other genres. And we do. And the reason I brought this up to MapleStory 2 is I think MapleStory 2 has done a great job of adding these like mini games in there and like customization options of basically players can design their own, like literally their own outfits in the game, like completely their own outfits. You can actually have like you can import like art assets into the game to make your own clothing. You can make literally clothing from any anime, any TV show, anything in game. You can literally upload images into the game and use them for helmets and body pieces. So this is a very creative part of MapleStory 2 that doesn't exist in any other MMORPG, where people will play these kinds of games strictly to basically play with the crafting and do all this other cool shit in game that has nothing to do with the core combat. And you won't see that in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. The players won't get that far if it's not intuitive to get.
You're right. I'm not dismissing because what you're saying is 100% true. But yes, I agree. All that shit needs to be fixed as well.
So before you put up a MapleStory 2, before they add like uploading skins or whatever, what they should do is make it so it's more intuitive to go through the quest log. Okay, here's a quick question. I had a friend of mine play MapleStory 2. They played, I think, MS1 back in the day, and they got lost in that first town because you have to go in the building to talk to the next NPC.
Yeah, you can't just grind. You have to do quests right away.
Yeah, and they're just kind of walking, and then they left town. They killed a few monsters, and like I don't know, I walked in. They were like on YouTube. You know what I'm saying, with the game on the other monitor, and they kind of lost interest. Like they don't know what's going on. So you got to fix that before you can do the more creative and social and experimental stuff.
Well, again, what you're pointing out is a much broader problem with MMORPGs. I mean, I'm talking more specifically with the systems we have already in place. This still needs to be fixed. Like for existing MMORPG players to keep them around longer, I feel like games have lost that. But I do agree that the genre. Honestly, anyone listening, I challenge you to maybe like boot up World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 and make a new character and let you maybe your cousin who's never played an MMORPG or your little sister or brother or family member or somebody who's never played an MMORPG. Just see how long they will play WoW, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy, any of these games before quitting. I really don't think anyone can get into these games. If you didn't grow up playing like an MMORPG, it's very hard for these games to be your first. Even Guild Wars 2 or like to be your first MMORPG because they're actually pretty mind-numbingly boring early on. The whole process of grinding quests, although Guild Wars 2 does it better than other MMORPGs in their sense of achievement, it's still just done so bizarrely, and it just seems so weird to do the main story quest for Final Fantasy 14. Like, your first instinct in these games to go explore and do what you want to do. And if you leave town to explore, good luck finding your quest location again. It's really bizarre. And that's one of the things that's, I think, really hurting PC and MMORPGs is how inaccessible they are.
Yeah, imagine like they built this beautiful world, right? And then they tell you, the world is yours. Explore it yourself, right? And then the first thing they do is clip your wings. And you got to follow this line we made for you. It's just, I don't know.
I love that picture I linked for MapleStory too. And again, what you can do, and again, like some random person just literally took my picture from Twitter and just slapped it on their MapleStory 2 character. Like, this is just literally one aspect. Another aspect which I absolutely love. I know Mabinogi has probably done one of the first games to do it. You can compose your own music. So in Mabinogi, you can just make your own. Bards can sit in town and play music, and you can do the same thing in MapleStory 2. And you can actually, which is awesome. You can just literally play your own tunes in town. So when you're walking around, you can hear like, oh shit, that music is familiar as fuck. Where's it from? Oh, that's the intro to Your Lie in April. Oh wait, that's the intro to Anohana. That's intro to Steins Gate. You can recognize these very familiar tunes. Oh shit, he's playing Gerudo Valley. And it's really remarkable because I was playing Final Fantasy 14 like a week or 2 weeks ago or so, and I remember there's this person in town is just playing music, and I just sat down there and listened to like the songs they were playing on there as a bard, and I asked, hey, like, can you play like anything from Mario? And they play this one of the very iconic songs in Mario. I'm like, whoa, can you play like something from Doki Doki Literature Club? And they play something from there. I'm like, holy shit, that's awesome. And they go, I'm trying to learn these other songs. So like, they're on my friends list now, and like when they learn a new song, they PM me, oh, I just learned this song, come check it out. And like, oh shit, let's go. Like, that experience, right? It can only happen in an MMORPG. Where else can you have this kind of interaction? where you're kind of discovering these things in game and learning how to play this like virtual instrument. Like, you know, like it's such an interesting experience, and like that feeling can only happen in MMORPGs.
Well,
that's why I think those are magical.
You say that, but as we saw a funny headline on The Verge yesterday, do you remember that?
It's a bit bizarre. You can go ahead and share that.
Okay, so I'm gonna show this to you guys, and I thought it was absurd at first too, but you know what? The guy actually makes a decent, not great point. Okay, so here's the article: Fortnite has the most interesting video game story in years. Okay, now that's quite the claim, right? Because as you guys might not know or know, Fortnite has basically no story. And by the way, this captures my my ideal form of storytelling. Okay, so in Fortnite, what they do is once in a while the maps will slightly change. Like a few weeks ago, they had that whole meteor thing. If you looked up in this sky, you saw a meteor, and every like week it would get closer, it would get bigger in the sky. And then people theorized where it was going to hit. People thought it was going to hit the Twisted Towers, right, the urban area, but it hit somewhere else. And then more recently, now they had a rocket ship on this castle. Apparently, and then if you were on at a certain time, they told you ahead of time when it was going to launch. And the way you found out is, Akuma Shogun.
Akuma Shogun, which you'll love.
Thank you. So anyway, they had timers, countdown clocks, and the random TVs scattered across the map, right? And that's how you knew when to be online. And if you were online in game at that particular time, you saw the rocket ship launch and crash. But awesome. It only happened once. It's not going to happen again. So that's pretty. It's like background lore rather than in your face dialogue, cutscenes, bullshit. You know. So I do like that.
And to be honest, that kind of storytelling is actually pretty. I mean, the headline is kind of pretty ridiculous at first glance because obviously the author even starts the article saying, "I couldn't name a single character in Fortnite. I'm not able to tell you anything about the lore or the plot, or even really explain where the game takes place. Yet somehow Epic's multiplayer shooter has produced the most arresting video game narrative I've experienced in some time." And it's only getting stronger as the game evolves. So that's a pretty powerful message considering a game that's a battle royale game has this kind of interesting background lore. But like that kind of storytelling, I think is very powerful and actually more useful oftentimes than the storytelling that World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 does, like pushing.
Well, it's not bad. Well, it's not bad. It doesn't. There's no like in-game cutscenes. There's no in-game like forced dialogue or anything.
Yeah.
But
that kind of storytelling is, you know, it's very like literally just you have to read the text to understand it. I know. I still think one of the most memorable experiences in World of Warcraft and really MMORPG storytelling, right, has been something like when the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj were opening. Like that form of like that was. It's amazing. All these years later, I still remember that, and really, I just felt like this is so cool. Like, what's going to happen when that happens? When this door opens, right? It was this server-wide event that everyone was working towards it to unlock new content, and we recently watched that. Recently, it's been like a year or so. But there was a really beautiful documentary on Final Fantasy 14. You know, if you're interested in gaming documentaries, maybe I'll drop a link to it. But it basically shows the rise and fall of Final Fantasy 14 1.0 and how the game was really shit back in the day, and they relaunched it. But basically, what happened was the world of Final Fantasy 14 ended when 1.0 shut down, and then Yoshi P took over, and then they remade the game as A Realm Reborn. And the process of shutting the game down was really an event in the lore, and it became like you saw this like basically this giant meteor Daluan with what's his name in it, with Bahamut coming down to destroy the world, and it was like slowly happening before the servers came down, and everyone was with really creepy music playing in the background. No matter where in the world you are, the world became all fucked up, and the music was really like grisly and scary and spooky, and it really just watching that, I'm like, holy shit, like this is such an amazing story. Like even the game sucked ass, which is why it shut down back then. But like the way of ending the game and shutting it down. Like, they didn't just turn the servers off and, we'll go relaunch in a few, like, give us like 5 months to fix this shit and relaunch it. No, it became a part of the story. And that part of the story carried over into Final Fantasy 14 and Realm Reborn. And that part of Final Fantasy 14 is probably the most interesting of the entire game. I mean, I played the entire story from start to finish, and I read everything in, up to the current content in the game. And nothing even comes close to how much more intense the shutdown of 1.0 was. That was, if you haven't seen the documentary about the rise and fall of Final Fantasy 14, if you enjoy gaming documentaries, it's worth watching. I'll drop a link to it in a second. But that part of the documentary was very gripping. I never got to experience it, but like, it really stuck with me. Like that form of storytelling where players feel involved in the way the world is shaped I would love to see that in more RPGs again. Like, I don't think you can get away with this, like, JRPG style storytelling in MMORPG. Like if I want to play a JRPG, I'll play a PS4 JRPG or something, or I'll read a book. You know, I want something to be interactive. I want to be a part of something live like that. That's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Actually, the upcoming BioWare game, Anthem, has said they're going to have something interesting like this. Where so Anthem is basically like a shooter MMO. Think like Destiny 2. Basically, the way it's going to work is there's going to be like a report in the game of like an upcoming major like snowstorm, and then every day for the next week leading up to it, it's going to get like snowier and snowier and colder or whatever, right? And then on that one day, there's going to be this huge storm. The maps are going to be different, and it's only going to last that one day, and then whatever, and then it's going to be gone. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we need more shit like that, and I think Fortnite proves how gripping it can be, and we've seen it in the past work. But it's just really bizarre that we haven't seen like World of Warcraft do anything quite as like intense as like the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj. I mean, why? It just seems like this form of storytelling maybe it requires more like effort. Like, I don't know.
Does FF14 have anything like that besides the 1.0 reborn thing?
No, there's no. It's actually really sad because I feel like they could do a lot with it. And honestly, one of the magical experiences about Final Fantasy 14, and again, any high ESO as well, Guild Wars 2, it is just the music is actually so enchanting in these games, and it's done really well. And like some scenes are just so powerful with the music. Like you can really tell a really good story in MMORPGs, but it just feels like the opportunity is almost squandered to a degree, where it is done in this very rigid storytelling, where some people like the story, other people just don't like it. But you're never really truly part of the story, which is the amazing experience was with 1.0 shutting down. But the way what you described in Anthem, like nothing like that has really. I mean, they do events obviously, but nothing feels like this is like a once in a lifetime like thing in the game to do. You know, like, there's nothing like that. Even if they do like temporary content, like can you imagine if WoW or 14 or Guild Wars 2, like okay, on this one day only, like fucking Deathlord Archimon is revisiting Azeroth, and you have one day to fight him, and you have one chance to fight him with your character, and you have he's only there for 1 hour, so it's like nobody can even like make guides for it because it's literally that fight is only in the game for 1 hour. So by the time somebody does the fight and tries recording a guide, it's too late. You can't watch any guides. Everyone gets one shot with a group to beat this boss, and if you get it, maybe get like a title or something or a cosmetic or something, right? This one encounter, this is your one chance to do it. That alone would be a magical experience you would talk about with your friends. Oh, I was there when this guy revisited Azeroth, or when this boss appeared in the game. He's only there for that 1 hour, and I was there and I beat him. They can make it hard too to make it like it doesn't be like crazy difficult either. But having like these temporary this fleeting content gives it more meaning. It makes it more interesting, I think. And it just feels bizarre that we don't see stuff like that. You have like event dungeons sometimes, so there's some events in games where you can run this dungeon 3 times a day for 1 day, but it's never like meaningful or interesting. But it just feels like a squandered opportunity to make these games feel more meaningful.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while since I think WoW had there was some event around the Burning Portal too. Like different servers opened the portal at different times depending on the contribution of other players, and that was good times.
I think we'll mention several Artix Entertainment games did that. I don't recall. I've played a little bit of Venture Quest Worlds back in the day, but not too much, and a little bit of AQ, but never like crazy amounts. But like, if the games do stuff like that, I guarantee you that's a very memorable experience. That's something you talk about with your friends years later. I was there for that. I mean, people that played Final Fantasy 14 back in the day that were there when the server shut down, like that's a memorable experience for them. It's a part of like their gaming history. Like that's like it sticks out with them. I mean, events. You can call it an event as well, but like I feel like the term events in MMORPGs have really lost their meaning. Events now in any MMORPG are just marketing gimmicks, right? Oh, it's like a double XP weekend, guys. Oh, you have like this one extra mini game in the Gold Saucer. Oh, you have a chance to get this one emote by talking to this NPC in this event. That's not an event. That's nothing. That's a nothing burger. That's no event. Like with Final Fantasy 14, they did the Valentine's Day event. You do this one silly mini game, and you get like a really cute emote, right? It's a great emote, by the way, but like that's not an event. There was nothing that went into that really. I talked to an NPC, I clicked on some nonsense, and I got an emote. It's got to be something. Like at least maybe nostalgia speaking here, but with Ultima Online, I remember pretty specifically there was an event happening in the Britannia graveyard where all these undead monsters spawned, and we were there, and there was like hundreds of players on the screen at once, and the game became so laggy that like we basically died due to lag. But I remember like, holy shit, this was an event. This was not like your regular old bullshit double XP weekend event. There was GMs in the game spawning monsters, spawning bosses, like some never before seen shit was happening. And we were there to experience it, and I still remember it vividly because we were there. This was something special. And I remember like, you know, when the boss that they spawned died, it dropped this really rare blue gauntlets. And this was back when we used to sell a lot of stuff on Ultima Online on eBay, and these gauntlets that dropped in the game were worth $400. 400 real life bucks. And if I picked them up, I would have sold them for that price. I know I'd be able to sell that on eBay for that price. And I remember at one point we actually had these gauntlets. And what happened was the servers were so laggy. You move like one frame and then you lag for 5 seconds. You move one frame, you lag. And I picked up those fucking gauntlets. They were in my inventory. And there was like this level 1 fucking lizard man next to me and smacking me. I'm like, oh, I gotta get the fuck away from this lizard man because I can't attack it because it's too laggy. And then disconnected. I'm trying to log back into the game. It's like laggy as fuck. I log back in, the level 1 lizard man killed me. And there goes my fucking $400 gauntlets. Some other asshole probably looted off my body. And I missed a chance to get free $400. But I still remember the event. Not because of necessarily missed opportunity, but because it was something special. You know, it wasn't just another garbage event.
How many... So I know it's hard to remember now, especially because the resolutions back then were smaller. How many people do you think were in that vicinity during that event? I'm trying to remember. Remember... Unreal 4 is having a hard time with 100 concurrent players now, and they're just now patching it to have like a viable frame rate and everything. We know PUBG launched with a terrible, server ticker rate and everything. And it's amazing to think that back in 1998, they could handle, 1,000 players on one shard, like one.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't 1,000 players on one map, like one, on the same screen or anything. But I remember Britain Bank on an average night had at least. What,
at least
40?
20, 30, 20, 30, 40 at least, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't laggy at all.
And it wasn't laggy. So how does it they did it back then, but they can't do it today? It's so bizarre to me.
Yeah, you log into Bless, and you try going into the main city. Enjoy your 5 FPS gaming on an awful experience. And yeah, it's probably doesn't have more than 100 players there either. So it's just bizarre that we can't fit that many players on the screen without having terrible lag.
Okay, so let me find a screenshot here. So this is 1998, boys, okay? Let me just...
I mean, not to like throw shit at like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 events, right? But when I think the word event, right, I'm thinking the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj opening. I'm thinking like some massive world-changing shit. Like most of the time, the events in these games, the holiday events, yeah, they're like not bad. Like sometimes Square Enix will do like some kind of mini game and you get an emote for it. But like it's always an afterthought. Like oh shit, the event is ending like Thursday. I better go grind that garbage out right now. It's never something. Oh shit, this event, let's go do it. No, it's never like that. It's never been like that for like as long as I can remember. I'm never like, oh shit, this event's going on. Fuck yeah, let's go do it. It's oh shit, I gotta go do it before it runs out just to get that emote permanently. I'm never excited to do it. But yeah, look at this screenshot in Ultima Online. Holy crap!
Look how many people are. And this is literally one screen. Okay, this is an 800 by 600 screen. If you count everyone in this whole like town, it's way over multiples of like a Fortnite match. And remember, each of these people can mount or dismount. They can cast spells. They can they have different weapons, inventories. They can chat in real time. So I get it that 3D obviously probably makes things way more complicated in physics, right? But this isn't as if like these are simple mobile characters. These are there's a lot going on with each character. There's a lot of possibilities on the screen.
There's 40 people on that roof. That means at least more than 40 on the ground. There's at least 100 people on that screen right there that you just linked us. And again, this is happening with mounts, with these. Every character can wear like any cosmetic they want. It's 2D, but there's a lot going on here.
1998, boys.
Right, it's not exactly. This is probably from 2000.
Yeah, I know, but it was like this. It was like this 98 too. I remember.
Yes, it was the same thing. Yes, you had these kind of numbers, and like the game. This would not be enough for the game to lag. Like this would be a really busy day at the bank, right? But like during an event, you had multiples of this on this like in the same area, and that's what would create mega lag in the game. But this many players on the screen was not like enough to really make the game lag at all. So at least during that event that we were in, there was at least like. Or at least like 5 times, 6 times this number, which is pretty crazy for an event.
The good old days.
Yeah, it just really is sad that even like Terra, if you're in a busy place, it just still fucking lags. Like, come on, it's 2018, boys. We can't have players in the same screen that are lagging.
There's a tech law. There's a law in tech or something. I don't know what it's called. Maybe if any tech people in the chat, they'll know. But as Intel makes better hardware, like CPUs, software like Windows just kind of bloats to fill up the extra hardware power. So nothing actually improves because now the Windows developers have more leeway. So instead of making a tight product that's really refined, they just have more time to slapdash it and have it bloaty.
I mean, and just to let you know how bad it is too, like it's pretty inexcusable, right? Because I know Final Fantasy 14 they added this new Eureka Zone, some other content there. Basically, 180 players or something can fit into this new zone, and you all hunt like bosses together or some bullshit, right? And 180 players in the same screen in Final Fantasy 14, it creates some garbage lag. It becomes very laggy with that many players in the screen, and that's 180. That's only a bit more than what you're seeing on the screen right now. And this is a relatively new MMORPG built on supposedly modern day netcode, but it can't handle 180 players on the screen at once, to the degree where what happens is actually when you have 100, even like usually it's 120 on the screen at once fighting the boss because other 60 players are whacking off somewhere else, right? So with 120 players on the screen, what happens when you're there fighting the boss is that half the players disappear on the screen because the game client can't even render all those players at once, so they literally disappear on your screen, which is really bizarre because like you should be seeing other players here, but most of them are gone. And what happens is the boss disappears as well. So what you're doing is I'm lobbing fireballs at the boss in Final Fantasy 14. And he just suddenly disappears off my screen. He becomes untargetable and disappears. But other players are whacking at something, and there's AoE's coming from somewhere. But he's not on my screen anymore. I have to like move around, like, and then hope he reappears on my screen so I can retarget him. And again, how is this happening in modern day MMORPG? There aren't thousands of players. There's 120 players here. This is not some crazy thing. I just don't understand why they can't have it working with 120 players at the screen at once. Like this is not. Is it really that much to ask for?
Okay, a few people in chat have been talking about this, so I think it's a big story that we should get to now.
Okay.
So Ashes of Creation, guys, I think last month, has said that they now have over 100 people working on the staff. And it's going to be the biggest MMORPG, I guess, in a long time. I'm not sure what the exact claim was.
Let me find the claim. Well, I think it's the biggest MMORPG in development, right?
In development, okay. I think
that was their phrase.
I guess they're not counting Star Citizen.
I guess not, because Star Citizen is way more. So yeah, the story is they have now over 100 people working on the game. So that number is not counting everyone in their San Diego office. I think it counts all their freelancers in Malaysia as well, Philippines or Malaysia, and in France and Malaysia as well. So, but it's still a really impressive number, and they're actually they're trying to hire 21 new people for their San Diego office as well. So they're hiring. Looks like they just hired a few new team members. They hired Michael Roca, a senior gameplay programmer, formerly Disney Daybreak. Gret Crabtree. What a last name, Crabtree. That's a pretty badass last name.
I think that's
senior software engineer from Daybreak. Devin LaFontaine, also from Daybreak. Basically, they're hiring 4 or 5. They hired 7 new people, all from Daybreak Games.
Wow.
So they're hiring away quite a few people from Daybreak. And there's clearly something was happening at Daybreak, right? They were exploring a possible sale with the Russian sanctions on Columbus Nova, the company that owns Daybreak. So it looks like there's stuff happening at Daybreak, and looks like Intrepid Studios is hiring away a lot of the talent. So, these are real people that worked on real games. So I think what started definitely as something very sketchy, very sketchy. We've kind of explained our hesitance about backing Ashes of Creation for a while now, and I'm not going to rush out to back it now even, but like they are spending money on hiring real people to work on this game now. This is no longer just one guy who's got no idea what he's doing, raising millions on Kickstarter. I mean, he's hired quite a few people that have experience in making games. I mean, time will tell if this game ever comes out as promised, but there are people working on this, and this creates a lot of overhead for them.
I was gonna say this is a huge budget now, and I don't obviously what they raised on Kickstarter is not gonna cover it. So a lot of his he's dipping into his own funding. I'm not sure if he has any other funding sources, but it's gonna be a big budget game. I do believe. So when I were actually discussing before the podcast whether this qualifies as a AAA game, and I think even if it doesn't now, based on today's budget, by the time it gets closer to release, I think it will pass that imaginary threshold wherever
my imaginary threshold for AAA budget is going to be at least $50 million. That's my number. I think any game that costs $50 million to develop is firmly in the AAA. I think again, I don't think it's an official number, but most games cost way less than $50 million. $50 million would be a very expensive game. Obviously, giant games like Star Wars Republic and Grand Theft Auto 5 cost multiples of that, but I think most games cost less. But they raised like $3.3 million on Kickstarter. They probably raised maybe that much from private investors as well. I mean, they're probably by the time this comes out, my guess is the whole thing's gonna cost $15-20 million. Is my guess by the time this comes out, at least in some form of playable state.
Yeah. I'm trying to find how much they raised total. Let's see if they actually have that number anywhere.
Apparently, they're still aiming for Phase 1 alpha testing for 4th quarter of 2018. So they're gonna have some kind of playable version of this game of Ashes of Creation to the public. There's been some kind of playtest videos before, but they seem very like staged content where you can only do certain things. But they're gonna be like, once I see videos or if I play it myself, some kind of, the phase 1 alpha, and I see, holy shit, there's a real game here, then I'll start getting excited for Ash. Until then, I'm going to reserve any kind of excitement. I will remain skeptical until then, but until I can play something myself in some kind of, open world environment and see what's actually happening, then I'll get excited. But and it looks like July is the last month you can buy access to Alpha 1, which is kind of weird because like, wait, what? Can I buy Alpha 1? Why can't I buy Alpha 1 when it comes out? Like, why do I have to buy it now, But they're not going to be selling Alpha 1 access later.
It's like the early access, The special price runs out.
Whatever. But I want to play the game when Alpha 1 comes out. I ain't going to give them any money right now, but I want to give it the old, college effort. I want to give it the honest try and see what's going on. I still have my reservations about any Kickstarter fund the game. I have my reservations about any people that make their money in MLMs. But I still want to give it a try. I mean, this guy clearly cares about MMORPGs. So I think the reason you said the AAA discussion came up was in the car earlier today. I said, basically, I don't think we're going to get any other big budget MMORPGs on the PC. I think the era of big budget PC MMORPGs is dead. I mean, you have games like Star Citizen and this game in development, but we will have no new big budget games. When I say big budget, I mean at least like $20 million PC games. I think MMORPGs will move more and more towards mobile. We'll have more. I mean, just the success of like PUBG on mobile is kind of proves that it's huge. I don't see even Final Fantasy, the next Final Fantasy MMO, whenever that might happen. In fact, I think at most, or the Final Fantasy 16, if it comes out on console, that'll be the last one on console, and everything after that'll be on mobile. But that would be a stretch as well. I mean, the next mainline Final Fantasy game I think will be on mobile probably. So,
actually, speaking of, I think you mentioned we mentioned consoles briefly there with Final Fantasy 16, but I actually got a chance to play Skyforge on PlayStation this week. It was my very first time playing an MMORPG on console, and I have to admit it worked surprisingly much better than I thought it would. But now that I think about it, when I first played Skyforge on PC, it did strike me as a game uniquely made for console. It had only a few abilities for each class at a time. And even the visuals and kind of look like a console style game. And it works really well. It's still like a cheesy game because you kind of one shot all the monsters. Mm-hmm. So it's still easy, but I think for being a free game, I think it will get a lot of exposure on the PlayStation Network. It's very easy to find it and just click download. But what I did notice is things download very slowly on your PlayStation. Have you noticed that anymore? I feel like even with a wired connection into my PlayStation, it seems to download like at least a quarter at the speed of my PC. I don't know why. Same network.
It's probably because it's installing while it downloads, maybe something like that. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but it's weird.
But yeah, I mean, you play Skyforge. I've never played an MMORPG on console yet myself, but you saying it works well is good. I mean, it's an action game, so I think it's kind of better suited for it as well. But I could not fathom playing World of Warcraft on a console, for example. No. That just seems like so like. But what's weird is games like ESO has like most of their player base on consoles. Like I think it's 1/3 Xbox, 1/3 PS4, 1/3 PC. So with most of ESO's player base on console, like why doesn't World of Warcraft expand to console? Like it seems like a pretty big market. Again, World of Warcraft has way more hotkeys, I think, than ESO as well.
Yes, exactly. I think certain games like ESO were designed with consoles in mind. Whereas
Final Fantasy 14 as well is very much a WoW-like experience in terms of hotkeys and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But even that is on console, and I think you'd be surprised how many people play. It's really, to me, it seems very surprising because I guess we all kind of live in our own bubbles to a degree. But a lot of people play these games on consoles, which it just seems so unfathomable to me to want to play an MMORPG on a console. But like, it's a thing. People don't have good PCs; they play on their consoles.
I will say this, okay, this says much about how bad MMORPGs have gotten lately. The fact that they work on console now. Okay, so while I was playing Skyforge, right, not once did I even consider talking to anybody, B, partying with anybody, C, interacting with another player in any way. You know what I'm saying? Where the reason in the past I thought it would be impossible to play an MMORPG on console is because in my mind I was imagining MMORPGs as how they used to be, right? Where you had to party, you had to talk, hey, for this quest, where do I go? 3-4 times in chat until someone answers you, Or if someone's, killing or camping a monster spawn with you, You guys say, hey, you want to party so we can both get the quest done? But you don't have to do any of that anymore. It was basically a single player experience for the hours I played. You know, at no point, I wonder how long I have to go until I have to. Actually, I don't even know how to chat with anyone. I don't know if I can chat with anyone on the PlayStation because you never have to anymore.
Well, with Xbox One, Xbox Live and stuff, they've had headsets and stuff for those games for a long time. Communication isn't really a problem, but I do think
is it open? Can I just talk to people next to me?
No, probably not.
They gotta be my friends list or something, right?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but like you said, you never have to talk to other players, and that's again something that's really bizarre and something we lost in MMORPGs, where if you're not talking to anybody, kind of like what are you even doing? Like, there's no need to strategize until you get to the late game. It's really bizarre to me that every game has pushed all the interactive content in MMORPGs on like the 50-hour barrier. It's only after you sink 50 hours to a game do you start getting like challenging multiplayer content. Like until you reach like it's such a meme now too, like an MMORPG and stuff. Oh, it gets fun on the end game. The end game is fun. What about the rest of the game? Is the rest of the game shit? It just I don't know. For example, I did not have too much fun with Final Fantasy 14 until late game. Unfortunately, you know, I had fun with WoW in the early game, but that was back in vanilla days. And when I played WoW with Mr. Pandaria and I got the max level again, I'll tell you what, I had no fun in the early game. It got a little more fun late game, but still, like the early game, it's such a bizarre experience in MMORPGs nowadays.
I also had a chance to try Destiny 2 this week. Another the monsters felt very like giant balloon pinatas. They were like these big scary guys like monsters, but they do so little damage that you can walk up to them and melee everything that comes your way. So the first few levels, I'm only meleeing. I'm not even using my gun. So I walk up to these giant brutes with these big guns and I just knife them, and they just feel like it's like you get trained not to be afraid of these giant monsters. You're like, you know, they're like a joke. So it's kind of funny. But I will say this about it: the music, production value, and the visuals, like the backgrounds and stuff, is really beautiful. It's really worth. Omar gave me his copy that he got with his Humble Bundle for like $10 or whatever. But it's really worth just walking through if you have a free copy or something to see the visuals if you have a good PC.
There's only one difficulty in that game as well, right?
Yes, you can't change the difficulty.
So it is really bizarre that you can't change. You beat the first few levels just literally meleeing giant aliens.
Yep.
Pretty funny. Somebody in the chat asked like, "How do you plan on playing Alpha 1 for Astral Creation?" I said, "Yeah, I'll just ask them for did you buy Alpha 1 access?" I said, "No, I'm not giving them any money." He said, "How are you gonna play it then?" I'm gonna ask them for press access. He's like, after all the money slung at them, I doubt they're gonna give it to you. He makes a good point, but we'll see. Indeed, we'll see, Dewey Bear, we'll see. Or I can just bum a friend's account who probably ended up. I'll bum it off one of you guys in chat that ended up backing it. We'll see if I can't get in. It just I just hate how all the fun parts of MMORPGs are pushed to the end game. It's just such a bizarre experience. And back to MapleStory 2, that's why the beauty of MapleStory 2 is you got the grind that every MMORPG has. You got but now you have a ton of other shit you can do, whether it's the customized crafting and customization for gear, the music writing, the mini games. The mini games I think are especially good, and it can really broaden the audience, like to capture more casuals. Like honestly, like if MapleStory 2 has like Mario Party like amount of mini games, that's gonna be god tier. Like I don't think they have that many yet, but if they just add more, like that's what they should be like focusing their content on. They just churn out more mini games for their MapleStory 2. And the game's gonna do amazing. IMO.
We shall see. So, well, I already know the answer. So, MapleStory 2 is your most excited for MMORPG of the summer, right?
I cannot get excited for a Kickstarter back game. It just
no,
against
MapleStory. What is your most excited?
Yeah, MapleStory 2. Okay. But I mean, Azure Creation and Star Citizen and Camelot Unchained and Crowfall. These are all games that are like still like in the ethereal plane. Like they don't exist in this realm yet. You know, they're still in the shadow realm. They don't exist in the real world until I get a chance to play them. Actually, on that note, Altai, did you hear about Camelot Unchained?
Delayed?
Yep. They said they were pushing for July 4th access, and now they're not going to meet it, looks like. They said they're going to be... they'll have a clearer picture on how long the delay will be by Thursday, so it's definitely not happening this week, it looks like, but they said it's not going to be a year delay or a 3-month delay. They firmly wrote out it's not going to be a year, or it'll be less than a 3-month delay. But that's unfortunate because this news literally comes out like 2 days before the supposed some kind of alpha for Camelot Unchained. This would be like the first public access for this game. and Camelot Unchained. I've been looking all the videos posted on our YouTube channel for this game, and this one seems so far away from some kind of actual playable release. I mean, it's got good funding. It's got Mark Jacobs behind it. He knows what he's doing, but it just seems so far from a real game so far. But they were pushing for this July 4th date. I was excited for it. I was hesitant that they were going to make it, but I got to wait a bit longer to give it a try now.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by how little blitzing of press they're doing compared to other companies. Like, there's so few gameplay videos. There's not much
For Camelot Unchained?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's never any gameplay videos shown. What's remarkable is like Asher Creation with what it is today. I mean, they've shown so much more than what Camelot Unchained has shown. Like Camelot Unchained has shown almost nothing. And again, this is a guy who's at least he raised millions in backing now from besides crowdfunding money. He raised millions from private investors, and he's made he's worked on the Age of Camelot and Warhammer Online. And despite that, he's shown so little. I mean, I'm rooting for Mr. Sharif to get Asher Creation out. I still remain skeptical, but a game made by somebody who actually really loves MMORPGs would be great.
Okay, so I think this is this is the gameplay we have from 2016.
It's the DragonCon one, right? Yeah, this is it. I looked for a more recent gameplay video. There's nothing. They're 2016. This game, there's so little content, like gameplay. Look at these janky ass running animations. Did you see that shit?
Yeah, I saw. I don't know what they're trying to show. I don't know what's going on in this video.
Honestly, I would have been mega. I was like, when I first read that they're pushing for some kind of public alpha testing on July 4th, there's no fucking way. I did think they were going to do it, but they were, he had the whole party hat on, everything. So, oh shit, Mark Jacobs is going to do it, boys. And we got nothing. Not yet. We got to wait a little bit longer. So this is definitely an ambitious title as well, but we got to wait a little bit longer to try it out.
And it should be worth noting, the reason it took so long to show anything for this game is it's a custom engine. Whereas, actually Creation and all these other games are using Unreal, which is, very easy to whip up a map.
Yeah, whipping up a map in Unreal and letting you walk around through trees and like swinging a sword, that's pretty easy to do. Honestly, you give me like 3 hours, some YouTube tutorials, and I download Unreal Engine 3, I can load up like a basic forest map and have a character with a shoulder shield running around. Like you could do that within a few hours of Unreal, and we see that a lot quicker in a lot of Kickstarter games. So you do have to give some credit to Camelot Unchained that they did all this in a custom engine. And the beauty of the custom engine is that hopefully it won't lag as much. We've seen the disaster that was blessed to play on Unreal Engine, and we've seen how poorly games like Terra even run today. So at least having their own engine will give them hopefully more smoother gameplay.
Yes, that's exactly why they did it. They said internally they tested Unreal, but they want to do like these huge 500 versus 500 battles, and they said Unreal 4 can't handle it. So they're doing it from scratch, and I think we'll see when all these Asher Creation and all these games come out and I'm going to test beta testing. How laggy are they? How much does the frames drop? How much lag is there when you have multiple people on the screen? All right, let's see this clip.
Sure.
Oh, this looks better. I like this.
This looks a lot better. Holy moly! This looks pretty badass, actually.
This looks like Deok 2.0. This is what I would imagine Deok to look like today.
This is what I want from a modern game. And holy shit! Talk about older games being more ambitious. Remember when Dark Age of Camelot came out in 2003 or something? Like they came out before WoW, right? 2002.
Yeah, definitely before WoW. Definitely.
Yeah, Dark Age of Camelot was such an ambitious title that there's really nothing else like it even today. You had you had 1,000 players on a single battlefield in realm versus realm battles. You had this amazing faction versus faction versus faction combat.
2001.
In 2001, you had hundreds, if not up to 1,000 players, 3 different factions, literally doing castle control in this persistent open area. But the beauty of the battlegrounds in this game was they were persistent. You had to actually go to the frontiers. It was literally the border of your country. Like there was 3 factions, and there were just these giant continents, these 3 countries rather, and you would all go to your border, and the borders would all be next to each other, and the battlefield would be happening between all 3. It would be in a persistent area. You don't zone into some bullshit, and you fight there. You're actually fighting in a persistent zone, and you capture castles. And I remember you actually get siege weaponry as well, and they did a ton of damage to walls and shit, and the freaking catapults would actually one-shot players. They land on them, and there's a really intricate system designed around rewarding PvP. It was like words cannot describe how much more ambitious PvP was in Dark Age of Camelot. Because think of PvP in World of Warcraft. When you kill someone in World of Warcraft, what do you get? You get some honor points. What the fuck do honor points do? Nothing for the most part. And if you end up being the world high gladiator, you get some better gear, some PvP gear, which is good for PvP, but not really great for PvE. Like, it wasn't even the best gear in the game. If you PvP'd in Dark Age of Camelot, you literally unlocked skills that you just didn't have access to if you didn't do PvP. Like, you would unlock new every race, every class would have a new set of skills for PvP that you would unlock through PvP. And those skills, guess what? You bring with you into PvE.
Well, and that's another good point about ambition back then versus today. First of all, even this game, which is made by the same guy who made Dark Age of Camelot, is less ambitious because there's no PvE element to it. So Dark Age of Camelot had a full-fledged PvE part to it. I'm talking, you know, dungeons, you know, bosses, you know, epic gear drops and all that crap, all that stuff, you know. And on top of it had this, you know, red RVR stuff going on. Whereas this game only has, I shouldn't say only, I think there's one PvP-esque dungeon where you can, I'm not sure what killing the mobs does, but I know there's not a traditional, like, grind or PvE, you know, in this game.
Look, you literally got, it was amazing. Like, you unlocked new activatable skills, and not just one or two. There were like dozens. Oh, and you literally got permanent stats for doing PvP. Oh, you unlocked enough PvP points, you can spend it on permanently getting like 20 new intelligence points that stick with you forever. It was actually amazing. Like, even as like if you weren't into PvP, you didn't have to like, you could still do it and participate. And like, the beauty of the PvP was it wasn't like super high risk, high reward. It was, when you died in PvP, you didn't really lose anything. It was a minor inconvenience, and that's it. But if you fight for your faction, you know, you have to go to the front lines and take keeps for your faction. You literally get rewarded with permanent stat points and new abilities. And beyond that, whichever faction controls, there was like a handful of relics that were in the frontiers. Whichever faction controlled the relic got realm-wide bonuses. So if your faction owns a relic, everyone in the faction gets bonus, like maybe more intelligence, more stats, like while they control that faction. There was a real sense of like pride for fighting for Midgard or Albion or Hibernia. Like, it was intense, and it was a mind-blowingly ambitious game that you just, compared to like even Bless that they spent like $70 million on. It's a generic Korean PvE game with some PvP. It is nothing ambitious about Bless. There was never anything ambitious about it. Like, and somebody mentioned even games today being less ambitious. Like, this game is only 3 classes per faction, right? If you look at the class in Dark Age of Camelot, holy shit! The game had like over 10 races per faction. And like at least 15 classes per faction. It's insane. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 classes per faction. 16 with multiple races for every single one. There's over 45 different classes in this game. It was ambitious as fuck.
I want to play the old trailer. Okay, it's like shitty quality though. It's a re-upload on YouTube. But
let's see it.
Let's watch this for a minute.
Nostalgia time, boys.
Do you remember this trailer?
Let's take a look.
Welcome to Dark Age of Camelot.
I love this voice.
Albion, Midgard, and Hibernia are at war. In the years since the death of King Arthur, the fragile peace between these realms has been shattered. To which realm will you pledge your allegiance? Albion. Here, races of men struggle to uphold the ideals of Arthur and his great kingdom, Camelot. The defenders of this realm rely upon a balance of powerful magic and strength of arms. Join the forces of Albion as a valiant paladin. This warrior of faith uses both sword and divine favor to aid comrades in battle. A powerful wizard, a mage that wields elemental magic to obliterate enemies. A cunning scout, an archer who strikes at foes from long range with a fearsome longbow.
All right, let's skip ahead a little here.
I thought those spells casting in Dark Age of Camelot was the coolest thing in the world. Because I came from Quest and the spells were disgusting in EverQuest, but like, oh my god, the Dark Age of Camelot spells were gorgeous. I would be like, holy shit, Dad, look, when I cast this shield on myself, look how cool it looks. And I call my dad over to look at my screen. The buffs look so badass in the game.
I love the way they wave their hands. Every spell is like a different, like, you know, like, they'd always move their hands around.
Evil within. The Emerald Isle is yours to discover. Midgard, a land of strength, courage, and noble tradition, where warriors fierce and fearless seek to honor their gods through victory on the field of battle. By force of arms and lust for glory, the races of the North strive for dominance over their enemies. Rally to the werewolves and fire giants.
This is a pretty cool trailer despite its age.
Yep. Well, there it is. So anyway, Camelot Unchained is by the same guy, even the names are similar, I guess. So there it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Unfortunate that they did have that delay, though. But, I mean, hopefully... We'll find out on Thursday again how bad the delay is. Hopefully it still comes out later this month, if anything, because I do want to give it a try, you know? Especially after I saw that more modern gameplay trailer, that little clip for it, so... PvP in that game was pretty intense. There's actually... I could gush about, you know, Dark Age of Camelot for a while, but, you know... It was something else.
Indeed. All right, well, anything else, or shall we move on to the post-game?
We should move on to the post-game.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everyone, on YouTube. Though I did want to mention them about questing, but I can maybe bring it back to later. I'll mention it later. Don't worry.
All right. Next time, guys. You gotta wait for this.
All right. The post game, boys. Thanks for watching again on YouTube.